NBA, Draft Underdog becomes basketball's ultimate lockdown star. Episode 61. Harrington didn't care, still explaining indifferently. I just think I'm in a better position and I can play. D'Antoni's face suddenly turned green. Sandwiched by two people, it's better to call the location? Forced to make a pass mistake so you can play? You can play, how come the lead is lost by you, and you are still 2 points behind? If he had a hammer in his hand, D'Antoni would have wanted to hammer Harrington to death. Is this answer called an answer? It's all about talking nonsense with your eyes open. But Harrington still has his own set of rhetoric. If you can't score, it's bad luck and it has nothing to do with my offensive choices. The team was overtaken, and I can't be blamed alone. There are 5 players on the field, and everyone is responsible. If you think I didn't play well, you can also scold Lin Dong, he just chased and didn't prevent the Spurs' attack. Harrington's tone revealed a sense of course. It was as if he was not at fault at all, and it was not his fault alone. Originally, D'Antoni wanted to give Harrington a chance. At this point, it seems that there is no need. He doesn't deserve it. As the main attacker on the field, he has no responsibility at all. Blame the score behind someone else. Such a person is not worthy of being a leader. Not even worthy of the sport of basketball. Because he has no sense of teamwork. Compared to Harrington's indifference, Dwyane was a little worried. He doesn't have Harrington's great experience and isn't a core player in the team. He was just an ordinary starter, and he is not now. The reason why he just did that was because his consciousness was fooled by Harrington. I feel that as long as Lin Dong does not play well, he can get more playing time. As a result, I didn't expect things to turn out like this. I didn't expect Harrington, a fool, to be so pitted. Say such brainless things to the coach. D'Antoni clenched his fists, his whole body trembling. He held back the anger in his heart. It's that I don't get angry. Wait for Harrington and Dwyane to play anymore, David Lee and Nate replace them. Such a picture was well captured by the large screen on the scene. Even Perry, who didn't know much about the ball, saw something. That number 3 player just now, didn't he play well? She asked Rihanna on the side. Rihanna had a look of disgust. It's not just bad, it's a nightmare. Lin Dong feels so good, he has to fight himself, and then make a mistake. You say this is not a stupid approach. After that, he turned his head and motioned for Perry to look at the fans behind him. You listen to the fans, and you know how bad he is. It's not good to wait for him to be replaced, and you won't have to see him again. Perry nodded. Then, listening to the insults of Harrington by the fans behind him, he shook his head helplessly. Originally, fans in the Knicks didn't like Harrington very much. The defense is not active, and when attacking, it is a lone wolf. Even in previous matches, there were mentally retarded behaviors in which he pushed his teammates. It's too hard for such a player to make others like him. Looking at the lively scene on the Knicks bench, Popovich is still light. With a faint smile on his face, he looked like an old fox who had always been sophisticated. The timeout ends, and the game resumes. Both teams will return to the field with all starters. Although such a lineup, everyone's tacit understanding is not very high. But at least in the current squad, everyone's purpose is the same, they all want the team to win. Without Harrington, the team played more reasonably. Except for Jeffries, who did not have much offensive ability, everyone else was very threatening. Seeing that it was Hill who was defending Lin Dong, he handed the ball to Lin Dong and let him continue to play physically. The Spurs wrapped Lin Dong and gave the ball to other teammates. Then get a chance to score. At the end of the second quarter, the Knicks took the lead at 1 point. Although the lead is only 4 points apart. However, this has exceeded the expectations that the team had begun with. It turns out that we can also beat the Spurs. This result gives the players a lot of confidence. In the second quarter, Lin Dong shot 2 of 4 and scored 6 points again. The total score has reached 26 points, surpassing his previous scoring record. Fight again in different places and return in the second half. The Knicks still maintained the momentum of the first half, as well as the feel of the hand. Although the cooperation is not very good, but the use of the efforts in the footsteps makes up for this. In the third quarter, the Knicks outside was fully open. Lin Dong, Nate, and Gallinari hit 3 points in succession. In this case, David Lee also played much more smoothly on the inside. At the end of the third quarter, the Knicks extended the gap to 14 points. 84-70. Such a difference is not a big difference, and it can be chased. But Bobo waved his hand and did not replace Duncan and Parker in the fourth quarter. GDP left Ginobili for half a knot. Ginobili was also substituted and the Spurs essentially surrendered. Seeing the Spurs replace the main player, the Knicks also removed the starters. However, Harrington remained on the sidelines, replacing Hill on the field. Hill waited for most of the time and finally got his wish. In the end, the Knicks easily defeated the Spurs 104-94. D'Antoni's first victory over Popovich's Spurs since arriving at the Knicks. Episode 62. 5 wins in a row. Congratulations to the Knicks on their 5-game winning streak. This is their longest winning streak of the season. Congratulations. Lin Dong scored 38 points in this game, setting a career scoring record, and congratulations to him too. After signing Lin Dong, the Knicks seem to have become a brand new team, and the defense has been raised a notch. Attacks have also become more diverse. It's just 5 wins in a row now. Maybe the winning streak will continue later, and it's not impossible to make the playoffs. With the congratulations of the commentary, the game is over. However, there are many topics about competitions. Reporters can't wait to interview Popovich and D'Antoni. Because this is the home of the Knicks, they will have a press conference after the game. So, the journalists all surrounded Popovich. May I ask Coach Popovich, why did you directly replace all the main players in the last quarter and give up the game? This question was asked by a bald reporter. Not only him, but also other journalists are curious about this question. 14 points difference, 1 quarter time, this is completely chaseable. But replacing all the main forces, that means announcing surrender, they really do not understand. Popovich pouted and said with a smile, because you can't beat it. The players on the opposite side are young and strong, and I'm afraid I'll break our players. You know, like Duncan Ginobili, they are older, and it's not easy to break it. Despite Popovich's words, the journalists were not convinced at all. Even sometimes, Popovich couldn't believe a word. What is called being older, getting older, and still playing third in the West? As he gets older, Duncan can still be selected as an all-star starter. This kind of remark also deceives some new journalists. Those with a little experience do not believe this kind of nonsense at all. But since he answered so, it shows that he does not want to answer this question. The reporters stopped insisting, but asked other questions. The Knicks did well tonight, especially Lin Dong. What do you think of him? Hearing Lin Dong's name, the old man's eyes lit up. Although he said that it was a joke that the team members were getting old, he really liked players like Lin Dong who had exploded physical talent. His performances speak for themselves, he can play efficiently, he can get 40 points, and one person has taken the Knicks defense up a notch. A player like that, I think he deserves to be in the All-Star game. Maybe in a few years, he'll be a superstar. Popovich usually likes to put hats on people. Before every game, he likes to praise the opposing players. But this time, more sincerely than ever. One last question. The All-Star game is coming up and Duncan is selected as a starter. How long will you let him play? As we all know, the Spurs players are regular visitors to the All-Star game. However, in each game, the Spurs players played very little playing time. This is true whether the manager is Popovich or not. Popovich pretended not to know and shook his head. I'm not a manager, I don't know his arrangement. As for what the players think, I never interfere. After that, Popovich smiled and returned to the dressing room, leaving the reporters with a wry smile. There was not a word of truth in this old man's mouth. After the game, Perry sent a message to Lin Dong. Hey, your performance today is fantastic. Lin Dong remembered that Perry said that he came to see the game, but he did not notice this because he was too attentive to the game. So I immediately sent him a text message back. Thank you. Are you here? Yes. Yesterday, I said that you came to the scene. I will invite you to dinner, or you wait for me. I will come to you after taking a bath. Okay. The two settled on a place and met at the agreed place. D'Antoni is going to take Lin Dong to the press conference. After all, he is the protagonist of this game. However, Lin Dong refused. Compared to a boring press conference, it is obviously a little more interesting to eat with beautiful women. And D'Antoni still wanted to ask the reason. Nate joked on the side, Coach, young man, don't you understand yet? D'Antoni laughed. Okay then. I understand. Then he took David Lee to the reception. Because the salary had not yet been paid, Lin Dong borrowed a little money from Nate. Then he went straight to the place he had agreed with Perry. Nate recommended a seafood restaurant to Lin Dong. And this restaurant, right next to Madison Gardens, is very close. On the other side, D'Antoni and David Lee came to the press conference. The reporters found that there was no Lin Dong's figure, and he was confused. After D'Antoni sat down, the first thing the reporter mentioned was about Lin Dong. Deshwai, why didn't you bring Lin Dong over? We have a lot of questions we want to interview him. D'Antoni smiled meaningfully. I'm going to take him, but he has more important things to do than that. Something more important than that? What would that be? Is it a break? Or was he injured during the game? The reporter guessed. D'Antoni shook his head, neither, it's young people who do things. After speaking, the reporters immediately agreed. There was a burst of laughter. Episode 63. Although Lin Dong was not there were not many questions that the reporters wanted to ask. Coach, this is your first win against the Spurs since you came to the Knicks. How are you feeling now? And what do you think is the key to your victory in this game? The reporter's questions were sharp. At once, he asked what D'Antoni cared about the most. D'Antoni is in a very good mood today. There was a smile on his face throughout. Although he won the game, he still maintained a low-key attitude. I finally won the old man today, and he was in a good mood. You know, that old man is sometimes quite hateful. With that, he raised an eyebrow at the reporters. It immediately amused the journalists. After the laughter, he continued. Although we won this game against the Spurs, it doesn't mean that we are as good as them. There are two main reasons why I can win today. The first point is that we have done a good defensive job, especially Lin Dong, who is still so active in defense, and he also drives other players. The second point is that today's hand felt good. We shot a lot of three-pointers today, and we hit a lot of three-pointers. Of course, this is also related to our previous tactical arrangement. The players executed their tactics well, which was the key to winning this game. David Lee and the reporters in the audience nodded again and again. Especially David Lee. Before the game, the coach said that if you want to win the game, you have to play against the Spurs. Predicting that there would be more opportunities from the outside, the course of the game was indeed as he expected. The teammates seized the opportunity to win this game. The reporter continued to ask questions. In the second quarter, there seemed to be a little episode on the court, and we saw that you and Harrington seemed to be a little conflicted. Can you tell me what the problem is? Contradictions between players and coaches, contradictions in the locker room. Anyway, as long as it is a contradiction, it is what journalists like to see. Because there is topicality. Thinking of Harrington, D'Antoni was angry. This player, he has long been unable to stand it. I don't know my position at all and do things in the dressing room all day. The most infuriating thing is that now in the arena, I don't listen to the command of my coach. However, in the face of reporters, D'Antoni naturally cannot show the team's contradictions to the media. It's not a contradiction, it's just a different view of the problem. Sometimes in the team, you need something like this. People have ideas in order to improve. Although D'Antoni explained something like that, the reporters didn't quite believe it. You were shaking with anger. Is this what it looks like to discuss problems? Harrington hasn't played since then. Is that something you say needs to be needed? But at this time, in fact, it is not very important what it is. If D'Antoni says it bluntly, it's better. Even if it is concealed, the reporter will tell the facts and add some material. Fans love to watch these things anyway. The reporter continued to ask questions. In the middle of this game, you were very dissatisfied with the referee's decision, but Lin Dong stopped you. What did he say to you? Talking about Lin Dong, D'Antoni is much happier. He told me at the time that he would handle everything. I thought, okay, I'll take care of it. Then he pitched that 3+1, he's a fantastic player and on the pitch you can always believe in him. Reporters could tell through D'Antoni's words and expressions that he liked Lin Dong very much. Now the tactical core of the team is still David Lee, but it may not be long before it becomes Lin Dong. After all, Lin Dong's ability to show now is not bad, and he is still very young. Some have a lot of time to grow. D'Antoni was frantically praising Lin Dong on the side, and Lin Dong had already gone with Perry to the seafood restaurant recommended by Nate. In his previous life, Lin Dong's family was average, and ordinary seafood restaurants were more expensive. So although he likes to eat seafood, he doesn't eat much. Now it's different, he has the system. A contract has already been signed, and there are even bigger contracts waiting for him. What kind of advertising endorsements? In this life, he is not destined to lack money. Therefore, he will enjoy the life that should be enjoyed. Now, let's start with Perry at the seafood restaurant. The business of this seafood shop is very good and it is already full of people. A lot of people just finished watching the game and came straight here. As soon as the two entered the door, many people noticed them. One is a new singer. One is a basketball player who has just risen. And both of them are very outstanding in appearance. Walking in the crowd, it is difficult not to attract everyone's attention. The two walked to the table under the guidance of the waiter. Inside the restaurant, many customers began to whisper about them. Isn't that Lin Dong? just played so well against the Spurs. It seems that yes, looking at it so closely, it is more handsome than watching it on the big screen in the stadium. Is that next to him Katy Perry? Oh my god, the two of them are actually together. Listen to the discussion of the people around you. Perry turned his head to look at Lin Dong and said jokingly, "You are now a star." Lin Dong shrugged. At this time, a middle-aged man came over. He was also holding a t-shirt. "Hello Lin Dong, my son is your fan. It's his birthday, I bought him a t-shirt, and he'd be very happy if it had your signature on it." Lin Dong glanced at Perry, and then said to the man with a smile. "Have a pen? If you don't think my handwriting is ugly, I'll be happy to sign it." When the middle-aged man heard this, he happily handed a pen to Lin Dong. Lin Dong took the pen and wrote his name on it with a Chinese. The middle-aged man, holding a t-shirt, turned around and made a victorious gesture towards a boy, and then prepared to leave. Lin Dong called out to him, "Is that your son?" "Yes. I think I can still take a picture with him, what do you think?" "Oh, that's wonderful." After that, the two walked towards the child together. The little boy was very shy, but as a result, the t-shirt still couldn't hide his happiness. After learning from his father that Lin Dong was willing to take a photo with him, he was a little overwhelmed with joy. Perry took a photo of the two. The two returned to their seats. As soon as he sat down, a blonde walked next to Lin Dong. Episode 64. Lin Dong and Perry looked at the blonde beauty in unison. "Hey, Lin Dong, I'm also your fan. Your performance tonight conquered me, can you sign me too?" Li Dong glanced at this woman. He has blonde hair and a very fodder figure. The appearance is also very delicate, typical of American blonde and blue-eyed beauty. If you score, you should be able to score 8. Perry is also beautiful, but the two have different styles. The blonde woman was a little more charming, while Perry was sweeter. Lin Dong smiled and said, "Of course." After he said that, he glanced at Perry and found Perry looking at them with a smile on his face. "Where to sign?" Lin Dong asked. The blonde beauty tugged at her clothes and looked at Lin Dong with seductive eyes. "Sign here." The clothes she wore were a tight white t-shirt, which was already very figure-showing. The clothes on the abdomen were pulled like this, which made it even more irritating. Lin Dong did not sign, but picked up a napkin and wrote his name on it. Then handed it to the blonde beauty. "My writing on paper looks better." Although he didn't say it explicitly, the blonde beauty also understood what he meant. "I had to take the tissue. I go home and put this piece of paper in the frame and hang it up." After she left, the two began to order. Lobster is the signature dish here and Lin Dong's favorite. Ordered lobster, ordered seafood soup, and fish. The matter that had just been signed, neither of them mentioned it again. "You did a fantastic job tonight, a lot of fans were shouting your name. Just like that blonde beauty just now," Perry said. "I think it's one thing that I'm playing well. Probably because people like my attitude to the game. Just like I like Kobe, I also like his hard work and winning spirit," Lin Dong said seriously. "There are many excellent players in the league, but Kobe will always be the most unique one. People who like him admire him immensely, and he has also influenced a group of young players, Lin Dong is one of them. But there are no fewer people who hate him than there are people who like him. Say that he is an iron god, say that he is a criminal, such a lot. But it is undeniable that Kobe is the hardest working in the league, and Kobe is also the one with the strongest desire to survive. All he can achieve so high." After Lin Dong finished speaking, Perry then asked, "Then do you think you will surpass Kobe Bryant in the future?" Lin Dong smiled confidently, "Definitely." "You're confident?" "Yes, I am confident and I am convinced that I will be the best player in the future. Only confident people will play their full strength on the pitch and create miracles on the pitch." Perry looked at the Seogwa player in front of him, as if he saw his body glowing with light. This light is the light that comes with self-confidence. Confident people are attractive, and this charm is more glamorous than expensive clothes. After that, the two talked a lot. Perry and Lin Dong talk about music, which is something she has loved since she was a child. And Lin Dong talked to him about the culture of Seoul country. As a native of Seoul country, Lin Dong has always been proud of the culture of Seoul country. Perry sounded very interesting. After the wine is full, it is not early. The two returned to their respective homes. As soon as Perry got home, he made a call to Harina. Then share with her about having dinner with Lin Dong tonight. The two chatted until 2 in the morning, before hanging up. After the 2 meetings, Perry became even more curious about Lin Dong. He has maturity, wisdom, and erudition beyond this age. And there is a simple obsession, for basketball is like that. At the same time, it is very simple. It seems that these qualities are very contradictory, but they are really reflected in Lin Dong's body. Perry came to the company the next day, and the agent told her about the watch ad she had talked about, and the advertiser wanted to find another male spokesperson. And advertisers are interested in finding an athlete. Because athletes are sunnier and more powerful. Compare the ones that fit their theme. But they don't have any suitable candidates yet. In the United States, baseball, football, and basketball are the three major sports. As for what sports athletes to look for and which athletes to look for, they have not yet decided. Hearing this news, the first thing that came to Perry's mind was Lin Dong. The handsome appearance should be very suitable for the requirements of advertisers. What about advertisers? I have a nice person who would like to recommend them. The broker was a little confused. Perry usually doesn't pay much attention to sports, how can there be suitable candidates? But he took her to an advertiser. The advertiser was also in Perry's company at this time, and several people were discussing the choice of another spokesperson. Perry pushed open the door and they greeted each other. Hey, Perry. The agent should have told you that we want to find another spokesperson, so I'm afraid the shooting of the advertisement will be delayed a little. Perry said straight to the point, it's okay, I don't mind. The purpose of my coming here is to recommend a suitable candidate for you. The right person? Several advertisers glanced at each other. Then he said with a smile, we just found a suitable person. Hearing this, Perry was a little lost. He felt that Lin Dong was indeed very suitable for this advertisement, and at the same time wanted to help Lin Dong connect with the advertisement and earn some income. I heard Nate say that when he first entered the league, it was very difficult. Presumably, Lin Dong is also like this now. How about you listen to the person I said, compare it, and finally determine the candidate? The leader of the advertiser nodded. Yes, tell me who you recommend. When he heard that there was still a chance, Perry was a little happy. Then he said the name, his name is Lin Dong, he's a basketball player for the NBA Knicks, Perry wanted to continue, but was interrupted by the man. He was worried that Lin Dong's current popularity was not enough, and others did not know him, so he wanted to introduce more. Unexpectedly, she just said Lin Dong's name and was interrupted. Is it not satisfied? She looked at the leader suspiciously. As a result, several of them glanced at each other, and then smiled heartily at the same time. At this moment, Perry was even more confused. Even if it's inappropriate, don't laugh like that. What are you laughing at? I don't quite understand, what's so funny about that? Seeing their attitude, Perry was even a little angry. Perry, don't get excited first, we're not disrespecting you, but... he said, pulling out a photo. It's the person you recommended, the same person we decided to endorse. Episode 65. Is it the same person? Perry and her agent were a little confused. It turned out that advertisers also took a fancy to Lin Dong. The leader explained, Lin Dong's recent performance in the NBA is very good, and he just won the Best Player of the Week. Now open the sports news, it's all about him. He's young and has a lot of potential in him, so we think he's the right fit. We'll contact him in a few days and talk to him about cooperation. Hearing that this candidate was Lin Dong, Perry didn't say anything more. Originally, I thought of helping Lin Dong myself, but now it seems that I don't need it at all. One advertiser fancy Lin Dong, and there must be other advertisers who fancy him. These advertisers have a very vicious eye to see which spokesperson is valuable. Maybe it won't be long before more people find Lin Dong. She went back to her office and turned on her phone. Sure enough, as advertisers say, sports news is full of reports about Lin Dong. Show talent again, 38 points to a new high, where is his ceiling? Knicks potential rookie, big power, fight off the old hot Spurs. Lin Dong, remember this name, he is the hope of New York. And below these reports, the comments are also very lively. If he had been in the league at the start of the season, I would have thrown him into the All-Star game. Oh my god, I watched the game live, I love him to death. He's improving almost every game, I don't know where his ceiling is, but he's definitely the next superstar. It's hard to imagine that he is actually a draft loser, and those NBA teams must be blind to miss such a talent. I've already bought my annual pass, and I'm going to watch the next Knicks home game. At this time, Lin Dong did not pay too much attention. Even on his days off, he arrived at the training facility very early. 30 regular season games are left until the playoffs. The team is now getting closer to the playoffs, and he is confident that he can make the playoffs. If he does make the playoffs, his goals will rise again. If there is always someone to win the championship, why not us? All Lin Dong wants to make a big improvement in his ability before the playoffs begin. In this way, after the playoffs, you can make a big splash. Also coming to train were Gallinari and Nate. And also came a new person, Jordan Hill. Seeing Lin Dong's continuous progress, he was very envious. But none of this is useful. If you want to improve, if you want to succeed, there is only one way, and that is to train hard. Lin Dong noticed Hill before, so he called Hill last night. Invite him to come and train. It's a great help for him personally, and it's a big help for the team. Hill's movement speed and bounce are better than Jeffrey's. However, in terms of experience and strength, he is still a little worse. Overall, what D'Antoni needs now is a tough defender on the inside. Hill is a little worse. If Hill can improve that, it will be very helpful to the team. Lin Dong's advice to Hill is to improve his mid-range shooting percentage on the one hand. On the one hand, it boosts strength. Later, in the small ball era, many interior linemen were in this style. Role players, in particular, don't need to be all-powerful, as long as they can do 1 or 2 points that stand out. It is enough to create space for outside players and protect rebounds. And those traditional centers before are also disappearing little by little. Can't keep up with the new era. Later, Thunder's Cantor is such a typical example. He has a variety of offensive tools and could have been a good core player if Gene had been in the past. But his defense was not good, the team did not need him to lead the attack, and gradually, he became a chicken rib player. Hill followed Lin Dong's advice and began to practice mid-range shooting. Even three-pointers. Another major item of practice is strength. In particular, lower body strength can provide great help when grabbing rebounds in the guard position. While Lin Dong and the others were practicing, Mills was thinking about something important in the office. Glenn, the general manager of the Suns, approached him again. The purpose is still about the trading of Xiaoxi. The trade chips he proposed before were David Lee plus Lin Dong. But Mills didn't reply to him, so he was in a hurry. Especially after Lin Dong played one wonderful performance after another, he couldn't wait to get Lin Dong. Mills, how did you think about it? I haven't thought about it yet. As you know, I've been busy lately. Glenn couldn't hear Mills. He just wasn't very happy with the deal, so he said it on purpose. So he also immediately proposed a new trading plan. Brother Mills, I know that David Lee may be very important to you, and I am afraid that you will not be able to bear to exchange David Lee for Xiaoxi. So what if it's Gallinari and Lin Dong, exchanging Xiaoxi? This is definitely a sure deal for you guys. To be honest, Mills was really moved when he heard the details of this deal. However, he also knew very well that the purpose of the Sun was no longer David Lee, but Lin Dong. A player in his early 20s, the league's top 3D player, and still growing, is how much rare. How many teams want to get such a player? Now it's Xiao Sishan for Lin Dong, and he has to think about it. Not to mention Gallinari. Brother Glenn, I've been really busy lately, you give me a while to think about it. Think about it, I will find you immediately, trust me. Glenn had no choice but to agree. Episode 66. D'Antoni had called ahead of time, so Mills wasn't surprised by his arrival. And the purpose of his coming to find Mills was also for Lin Dong. It's also for the team. He told Mills everything Harrington had done recently. Mills couldn't help but sigh when he heard this. Harrington's role in the team is really not that important now, the team's last 5 wins in a row, and his role is not too big. Have you talked to him? Mills asked. D'Antoni shrugged his shoulders. I talked about it, but I didn't say it explicitly, and you know, this matter is not easy to say clearly. But he doesn't seem to understand very well, always putting himself in a higher position. He said, gesturing. Hearing this, Mills was a little embarrassed. He first traded Harrington in the hope that he would lead the team as the boss of the team. However, he seems to be in trouble. Not only can it not unite the team, but the team's record has also dropped a lot. This season, D'Antoni put him on the bench. Harrington also came to find himself many times. He is now in an awkward position on the team, no longer the boss, but still the boss. Originally, it was okay to play as a substitute, but there was always something to do. D'Antoni came to him for a purpose, and he was clear, which was to trade Harrington. Mills did not immediately agree, but turned to a topic outside the forest. What do you think of Lin Dong? D'Antoni looked serious. Mills asked this question, and everyone else asked it, but it is not the same concept. He had to answer well. I think Lin Dong is a player who can be used as the cornerstone of the team. The cornerstone of the team? Is there a higher rating than that? First of all, his defense is top in the league, and his physicality and defensive awareness determine his lower limit. As long as he is there, the team's defense will not be bad. Secondly, he is still improving. His first game, compared with the current game, his ability to attack with the ball has improved a lot. If he continues to improve in his ability to hold the ball, I think he could become a league superstar. Although he is a Xiaogua, his talent is very good, and his height, reach, speed, and strength are phenomenal existences. The team's recent 5-game winning streak, I'm sure you've seen the game, is the best proof of that. After D'Antoni finished speaking, Mills also nodded in agreement. Indeed, Lin Dong's arrival brought something different to the team. If Lin Dong is to be the core of the team, then all the players who disobey Lin Dong must be traded. Is it really worth it for a rookie who has only played 5 games? Seeing that Mills was still hesitating, D'Antoni continued, "Do you know where Lin Dong is now?" "Where?" "Training in the training arena, where he trains every day off, and now it's not just him, there are 4 other players." Hearing this, Mills was stunned. "I was still training on my days off, and I brought the other 3 teams with me. I don't seem to have heard of a player who is still training on his days off. It seems that he is really not ordinary. If you work your own, you can also influence other team members to work together. If this continues for a while, the strength of the team will definitely get better and better." After thinking for a while, Mills finally made up his mind. Instead of trading a star from another team, it is better to develop it directly. Now that there was such an opportunity in front of him, he felt that he should seize it. "Then what kind of player do you think is suitable to match Lin Dong?" Such a problem is definitely not just a matter of talking. After much thought, D'Antoni began to speak his mind. Lin Dong's current ability is still only a 3D player, but his ability to hold the ball has been improving, and it won't be long before he becomes an offensive and defensive player. I think we can match him with some shooters, and now Nate and Gallinari are good. Secondly, the best inside player is an interior player with the ability to project, which can open up space for him and show his physical talent to the fullest. If you want to make him more versatile, it's better to have an experienced point guard in the team, on the one hand, to free up his offense, on the other hand, to teach him more experience and the big picture. These things, D'Antoni did not come up with on an impromptu basis. After watching Lin Dong play 3 games, he already had these thoughts. Lin Dong is like a combination of Kobe and James. Definitely a player with unlimited potential. While D'Antoni is better at tactic, it's shelling, and at the heart of the bombardment tactic is a passing master, a player like Nash. However, the infinite possibilities on Lin Dong's body made him feel that in addition to shelling, he could also play a better attack. Mills then talked a lot with D'Antoni's. Eventually, he settled on an idea. That is to build a team around Lin Dong. So, what he has to do now is to find a group of players who are suitable for Lin Dong. As for Xiaoxi, he didn't want it that much anymore. "I also want to exchange Lin Dong and Gallinari for Xiaoxi, I think it's beautiful. In a few days, it's the All-Star game. Every year after the All-Star game, there are always 1 or 2 teams that will play differently. He also hopes to complete such a deal before the All-Star game ends, which will make a major change to the team as a whole." At this time, Lin Dong in the training gym was fighting a bull with Gallinari. It was Lin Dong's turn to attack with the ball. He dribbled with his right hand and rushed forward. Gallinari instantly carded the main position, not allowing Lin Dong to break through. Lin Dong stopped abruptly and leaned back against Gallinari. But as soon as he stopped, he immediately turned forward and accelerated the breakthrough. Gallinari did not react and was broken through by Lin Dong. Then watch him score on a layup. At this point, Nate shouted excitedly from the field. "You steal my tricks. You steal my tricks." That's right, this half-turned pass is a trick that Lin Dong learned from Nate. The rhythm used is, fast slow fast, the key is when slow down close to the defender there is a pause, the closer to the defender, the more effective the effect. When approaching the defender, you need to face the defender sideways, and use your body to protect the ball with your other hand and pay attention to block the defender's hand that is ready to take out the ball. Then make a false swing turn, using the shoulder and head back feint to make the defender think that you are going to turn around, and then lower the center of gravity to accelerate forward. The key to this trick is the change of rhythm. There is also the use of eyes, try to make it confusing. Thomas Jr. and Paul are masters of this trick. Of course, Nate too. In order to learn this trick, Lin Dong observed Nate for a long time. And I also practiced myself for a long time to get to what I am now. This time is the first time to use it, but I didn't expect the effect to be quite good. "Nate, how's it going?" "No worse than you." Lin Dong shouted proudly at Nate. Nate laughed. "It's not bad, after a while, maybe it's better than me." Gallinari was blindfolded. "I've never seen you use it before. How to learn such a trick on the sly?" Originally, it was just shooting, and relying on physical talent, I couldn't prevent him. Now he will also have these things. How can people guard against this? No, I also have to learn this trick. This trick is a bit handsome. Gallinari was beaten, and he was not upset in the slightest. It's about getting excited. He previously thought that these tricks were the tricks of the small defender, but now Lin Dong used it, and it was so effective. It immediately made him very interested. Nate clenched his fist with one hand and put it to his mouth and coughed deliberately. Then walked towards the two. Since you want to learn, then I will teach you. Although Lin Dong is doing well, it is not good enough. After that, he gave a demonstration to the two. It has to be said that it seems to be one thing, and when it comes time to do it, it is another. The details, without guidance, are hard to notice. Gallinari also learned to do it again, although overall, it was quite decent. But if you want to be outstanding, it's almost interesting. Since you want to learn this, you have to keep practicing. The three people who were going to eat and rest after the bullfight. I practiced again. Lin Dong's continuous efficient performance also attracted Nike's senior management. At this time inside Nike's New York office building. The person in charge in New York, Blake, had just received instructions from the headquarters to sign Lin Dong. He and an assistant were discussing it at this time. Lin Dong, a player, didn't notice it before, suddenly appeared in everyone's field of vision. He used to play in the development league, and the Knicks lacked people, which brought him up. But as for why he wasn't drafted at the time of the draft, it's unknown. Forget it, don't care about that, let's think about how to sign him. Blake finished speaking, lighting a cigarette. Then he browsed the computer with data about Lin Dong's last few games. Averaged 24.6 points, 2.8 assists, 3 rebounds, 4.6 steals, 3.6 blocks per game. The data is indeed beautiful. Such a player, put on the market, is the existence of stars. To sign him, the contract fee is not low. Although Nike is very rich, when Nike signs players, it can lower the contract fee. At that time, after Dayo entered the NBA, they even made an insulting offer of $1.6 million for 4 years. Seeing that Blake was a little tangled, the assistant on the side spoke his thoughts. Manager, in fact, we don't have to give a high price. Hearing that there was no need to give a high price, Blake's eyes began to light up. Tell me about it. Seeing that Blake was interested, the assistant was a little proud and continued. You see, although he has played well recently, he was in the development league before, and he still lost the draft, which shows that he definitely has shortcomings. And he was in the development league before, the salary will not be very high, maybe open him a good contract, he will be happy for half a day. We can highlight with him the difficulty of gaining a foothold in the NBA. After all, 5 games do not represent anything, and it is only true to seize this opportunity to sign a contract. Hearing the assistant's suggestion, Blake was suddenly enlightened. This idea is very much in line with him. Their usual approach is even so, except for a few superstars. Other spokespeople will try to find out what is lacking in them and then emphasize that to this player. Yes, the players themselves became unconfident, feeling as if the price Nike offered was really high. Then they emphasized the benefits of signing Nike. Most of the time, they will sign up. Blake pointed to the assistant. Okay, I'll leave this matter to you. The assistant nodded and agreed with a flattering face. Episode 67. Because there was a competition the next day, everyone ended training early. The next day's opponent was the Suns. It was D'Antoni who played only for the team. So in this game, D'Antoni's desire to win this game can be imagined. In fact, Lin Dong is still quite curious. The Suns played so well that year, why did D'Antoni leave? If you continue to fight, you may create a different result. The Knicks are not at all on the same level as the Suns, and such a choice is incomprehensible. There are many ways to say this answer on the internet, but the real answer is known only to D'Antoni himself. The next day's tactical analysis, D'Antoni said a lot. Especially when it comes to shelling tactics, the eyes are shining and gushing. If it weren't for the Knicks' lack of good guards, D'Antoni would have wanted to continue to bombard. The Suns' offense, there should be no need for me to say more. Everyone also knows that efficiency is second in the league and scoring is first in the league. So if you want to beat them, attacking them is the most irrational choice, and the best coping strategy is to defend. How to slow them down is the key to defense. At the same time, rebounding is also the key. Try to control the rebound, so that they don't grab the opportunity to rebound and launch a fast attack. To prevent a pass, as long as the speed of a pass, or the accuracy is reduced, the efficiency of the shelling is reduced by half. Saying that, D'Antoni pointed to Lin Dong and said, Lin Dong, you are the main defense against Nash, don't think about stealing, just keep your hands always open. Steal Nash? I'm afraid it's funny. Even Lin Dong himself didn't actually think about stealing. Nash is historically recognized as a top defender. Although he did not win a championship, he was the MVP of the regular season. He entered the 180 club many times in his career, and ranked third in total assists in history. No one ever questioned Nash's level of possession. Therefore, Lin Dong's own defensive strategy is also interference, using his height and arm span to try his best to block the connection between Nash and his teammates. As long as Nash's side has difficulty playing the ball, then the power of the shelling will be reduced by half. Another point that the Suns' offense is difficult to defend against is the blocking of Nash and Smalls. Is it to prevent Nash from shooting, or to prevent Chelsea from going down? No matter how you choose, it is a proposition. In response to this, D'Antoni's strategy was to air defense one else. When Nash and Chelsea play blocking, the first defense is Lin Dong, slowing down Nash's speed. Then Gallinari is ready to go and defend Small, and the outside gives 3 points, but can't let Smalls rush. Unless the other players on the outside hit 3 threes in a row, the defensive strategy is not changed, understand? The players off the field shouted in response at the same time. D'Antoni excels at attacking, and defense has never been his forte. But when it comes to defensive shelling, D'Antoni still has his own method. Such a defensive strategy, to be honest, has a bit of a gambling component. That is, we can let others other than Nash and Chelsea shoot us, and we can't let them have 24 smoothly. This kind of defense is actually quite common. The Warriors, his opponents, will always have to face this problem. Let Curry beat them alone, or let anyone else but Curry beat them. If you think that no one will let go, the final result is often that you can't prevent it anywhere. So, there is nothing wrong with D'Antoni's defensive strategy. Lin Dong also agreed very much. Afterwards, D'Antoni announced the team's starting lineup. Still the same as in the previous game, Nate and Lin Dong played the starter, and the other 3 positions remained unchanged. The situation on the Knicks side is getting better, but the Suns are not so good. The conflict between Chelsea and the management intensified. The Suns team doctor predicted that Small's knee would only last another 2 years. In other words, after 2 years, Chelsea's condition will decline significantly. If it were the team doctor of other teams, the management might not have believed it. However, the management is very confident in their team doctor's level. I am also convinced of their predictions. So they are not willing to give Chelsea a long-term big contract. It's relatively short-term, and 1 copy is not too big. This caused Chelsea's dissatisfaction. However, the management was also unwilling to make concessions, so they discussed trading with the Knicks for Shows. The time came an hour before the game. The outside of the arena was full of fans. Since the start of the winning streak, live attendance in New York has been rising. Fans who did not buy tickets stayed outside the stadium and watched the game through the big screen outside the stadium. One by one, the fans were excited. Cheer for your home team. Among the fans, there are already many wearing the Knicks number 11 autumn coat. That is, Lin Dong's autumn clothes. There were also many fans holding signs with Lin Dong's name written on them. A reporter went to interview the fans. The reaction from the fans was overwhelming. Come on Knicks, come on Lin Dong. Since the team came to Lin Dong, the game has been good, and I feel that every game will be won. Unlike before, there is no hope at all. I am a fan of Lin Dong, and since watching his game, I don't want to fall behind and want to cheer for him with other fans. The Knicks are different now. I feel that the players are full of fighting spirit now. Even if I lose, I will always support this team. The Suns bus slowly drove into the arena. Nash was also shocked to see the scene outside the Knicks. Madison Garden is so lively right now. I remember when I came before, there were a few scattered people standing outside. Chelsea echoed on the side. I also remember it like that. I didn't expect a wave of 5 straight wins to bring such a big change to the Knicks. There's no star who doesn't like a scene like this. Can be supported by local fans, like this. The thing that many players dream of, is to play the ball, but also to be full of motivation. Then, the Suns players entered the locker room. Even in the dressing room, the cheers of the fans in the stadium can be heard. Such an atmosphere, which is the home of the Sun, has never been like this. Then, it was time for the team to enter. First, the Suns members, and the fans also let out a cheer. Players like Nash, who have few black fans, also have many fans in the Knicks. Then came the Knicks players. The atmosphere of the scene has just begun. The person is boiling, and the screams seem to be piercing the eardrums. Until Lin Dong's appearance, the atmosphere reached a climax. The fans shouted Lin Dong's name in unison. Every time I shout, I feel my heart beat rhythmically again. On a large screen in the center of the arena, a decibel meter image is displayed. The sound was so loud that even the decibel meter was about to explode. Xiaoxi couldn't help but exclaim, "This little ghost's popularity is too high." With all the players in the room, after a simple warm-up, the game is about to begin. The live commentary is also the beginning of the prediction for this game, analyzing the current situation of the two teams. The Knicks have won 5 straight games, and the last game against the traditional powerhouse Spurs is very imposing. But things aren't going so well on the Suns' side. There seems to be some tension between management and players, and the team has lost 3 of their last 5 games. But that's it, and the strength of the Suns can't be underestimated. One of the highlights of this game is naturally D'Antoni against the Savior. As the most familiar person in the world, can he find a way to deal with the league's most powerful bombardment team? Another highlight is Lin Dong. During the 5-game winning streak, he is extremely efficient. I don't know if this game can continue the magical performance. Let me wait and see. The referee signaled the entry of the starters from both sides. The starting lineups for both sides are: on the Knicks side, point guard Nate, quarterback Lin Dong, small forward Gallinari, power forward David Lee, center Jeffries. On the Suns side, point guard Nash, Jason Richardson, small forward Grant Hill, power forward Amare Stoudemire, Channing Frye. Jeffries and Les walked to the center circle and began to prepare for the jumping ball. Beep. With the referee's whistle, the basketball is thrown high into the air. Not surprisingly, Xiaoxi, who is more athletic, jumped into basketball. Episode 69. After the wonderful goal, the game continues. Because of Lin Dong's inseparable defense, it was difficult for Nash to fight fast and attack. Even because Lin Dong's defensive area is too large, Nash's shot is not easy. The core of the bombardment tactic is Nash, and when Nash doesn't shoot the ball quickly, the shelling is very fighting. Nash dribbled outside the 45-degree three-point line on the left and Tiny came over to block it. Here it comes, Nash and Xiaoxi's blocker. This is the Suns' offensive move. I don't know how the Knicks will respond to this move. The live commentator shouted out excitedly. Nash dribbled from the side where Smalls was covering. In the face of cover, the defender's choice is twofold. One is to defend around the front, so that the attacking player with the ball has room to break through. Then the player who covers can also choose to go down. Another is to defend around the back, but in this case, it directly gives the attacker with the ball the opportunity to shoot. Nash is a resident member of the 180 Club, and letting him shoot is tantamount to giving points. So, Lin Dong resolutely chose to defend around the front. Nash continued to take a step forward. At the same time, Xiaoxi quickly began to go down. At almost the same time, Gallinari directly abandoned Hill and quickly came to the basket to prepare for defense. Seeing the younger shunned down, Nash hit the ground with one hand and passed the ball to the former. Xiaoxi received the ball and directly closed the ball in 3 steps. But as soon as I took a step, I found that there were actually people on the inside. At the same time, David Lee also followed behind him. He noticed Hill in the bottom corner, who was empty. So he passed the ball decisively. Hill was completely emptied. Catch the ball and shoot directly. Swish. Basketball hollows into the net. Xiaoxi raised his index finger proudly. Think I didn't pass the ball? How can you put such a big vacancy? Seeing the Knicks' defense, the live commentary was a little confused. Is there a communication problem with this Knicks defense? How can it be such a big open space? Although Xiaoxi's passing is not very good, but it can also pass the ball to the right player, such a defense is tantamount to sending points. If it was put on purpose, it would be a bit risky. Strangely, there was no displeasure on D'Antoni's face. Did he think this is how the ball was played, or did he think it was acceptable? The Knicks attacked, and David Lee played from the inside to the outside and passed to Gallinari on the outside. The latter received the ball and clicked, and the defender did not shake. Gallinari simply held the ball directly to the inside. According to his previous offensive habits, he should start 3 steps at the free throw line. But this time was different, he shipped halfway. Suddenly turned his back to the defender, and the defender was also confused for a while. But Gallinari had just turned his back to the defender when he suddenly slammed the ball and kicked the ground hard under his feet. Then turned forward. The action is in place, but the speed is a little slow, and the eyes in front are not deceiving. And didn't completely pass the defenders. But Gallinari continued to dribble in, closing the ball at the free throw line and holding it to his chest. Rely on a strong body and hit a rebound for a layup. The live commentary was immediately confused. This is Gallinari? Didn't the previous Gallinari breakthroughs all go straight in? Why did this time come a half-turned and passed? What's the matter? Just now Lin Dong half turned over, and Gallinari also followed once. Did the Knicks hire any special dribbling coach lately? Taught everyone this trick. I don't seem to see Gallinari, but Nate the third, and Lin Dong is the number 2 just now. Not only the explanation, but Hill was also confused. He defended Lin Dong, and Lin Dong half turned past him. He defended Gallinari, and Gallinari also wanted to turn past him with a half turn. Could it be that there is something passive in him? As long as it is someone he defends, he will pass people with a half turn? Lin Dong trotted over, patted him on the shoulder, and quipped, "Brother, you are not as good as I learned." After saying that, he quickly ran back to the front court, leaving Gallinari whispering, "Just score points." Again the Suns' offense. Because there was no chance to attack quickly, they continued to block and dismantle. It's still Nash and Xiaoxi's block. And the Knicks' defense still adopts the strategy of emptying the outside line. The ball passed into Hill's hands again. This time, though, Hill lost. The 2 goals were the same choice, and the live commentary finally understood that this was not a problem of defensive communication, but of defensive strategy. It turns out that the Knicks are deliberately defensive like this, they just let Junior pass the ball. But Smalls and Nash, determined not to let them score both. It's a real gamble, and if Hill keeps scoring 3 points, they're going to pay a heavy price for it. The Knicks' defensive strategy seems to be a suicide defense in the narration. They are not optimistic about this approach. In fact, D'Antoni knows this, but he is gambling. Bet on Hill not to invest. But it's not a blind bet, knowing that Hill's 3-point shooting percentage throughout his career is no more than 3%, and 3-point shooting has never been his strong point. And, by this time, he was already 38 years old. Do you really think he can throw 20 balls, 30 balls? Hill certainly won't be unable to shoot all the time, but as long as the shooting percentage is not very high, then their defense is successful. In the following games, the Knicks continued this defensive strategy. Resolutely block the connection between Nash and his teammates, and resolutely prevent Nash and Smalls from scoring. Whenever possible, force the Suns to pass the ball to Hill. Forced him to shoot threes. At the beginning, Hill was more decisive. However, as more and more balls are thrown, the hit rate is not very high. He began to hesitate. If you hesitate, you will lose. The end result is also a worse and worse hit rate. Halfway through the game, the Knicks took a 6-point lead. Knicks, 23-15 Sun. Although Hill had scored 6 points in the middle of the quarter, he had paid the price of 7 shots. This situation is simply outrageous. A substitute player, in the middle of the quarter, 7 shots. If you just look at the statistics, the fans will definitely think that this substitute is crazy. It's a stunned blue, a lone wolf, and so on. But if you have watched the game, you will know that his every shot is very reasonable. Every shot is an opportunity for a big open spot. And, if the opportunity is out of him, he must cast. If he doesn't shoot, the Knicks' defense will be more targeted. At this time, the live commentary also had to praise the Knicks' defense. I can only say that D'Antoni really knows too much about this Sun. His defense paid off, with Hill forced to make 7 3-pointers in 6 minutes, but only hit 2. In fact, this kind of scoring efficiency is already good, but for an offensive team like them, it is a bit low. Although the Suns are at the top of the league in offensive efficiency, their defensive efficiency is indeed the lowest in the league. So the way they win is by scoring more points than the other side. Under the Suns' defense, the Knicks all became masters of shooting. The Knicks, on the other hand, although they have a lot of 3-point opportunities, do not shoot well. And the chances are all on one person, causing the other team members to not shoot for a long time, or even touch the ball. Over time, the shooting field dropped. After Lin Dong hit a 3-pointer, Suns head coach Alvin Gentry finally couldn't stand it anymore and made a substitution. Hill was replaced by Jailed Dudley. Dudley is a good 3-point player and can shoot 38% from 3-point range in his career. However, he is a standard substitute player, averaging 6.3 points per game in his career, and his high shooting percentage is maintained on reasonable shots and the number of shots is low. He can shoot 3 of 3 in a game, but he can shoot a dozen or 23s a game. He may not be very good. Gentry knows that, too, but he has to. If the outside 3-point shot can't be made, then the Knicks will endlessly wrap Nash and Jr. So he can only field players who shoot better from 3-point range and pray that he will keep scoring. Episode 70. The game continues. Again the Suns' offense. Nash, as a basketball master, how could he not see that this is the two head coaches' fighting methods? And the key to fighting is in Dudley. He believed in Dudley. But playing like this is actually very detrimental to the team. Because the team's offensive rhythm is completely following the Knicks' defense. It's too passive to fight like this. So he has to do something to pull the attacking rhythm back to his side. This time he didn't call Chelsea to dismantle him, but called Fry. Fry is also a good blocker. Fry stepped forward to cover, and Nash used the cover to break through in the same direction. Suddenly, one arm shook, and the basketball hit the ground into Fry's hand. In the face of Fry's downturn, the Knicks will not choose a bag. But because of Nash's containment, and the Nash's control of the timing of the pass. This ball, the pass is just right. Fry took 3 straight steps from the catch and scored the basket with ease. It's Nash, on the pitch, his brain is always clear, he knows when and how to play. This ball, the timing and angle of the pass, is just right, and it is impossible to pass such a ball with another person. The live commentary was full of praise for Nash's changes. Lin Dong, who watched Nash's pass, was also amazed at this time. This kind of control over the timing of passing has never been seen before. If you say a good defensive player, you can prevent a person from scoring. But it's too hard to prevent a pass, or an assist. Not to mention Nash. Seeing such a stunt, I have to say that Lin Dong was moved. If he had such passing ability, the Knicks' offense would definitely take it to the next level. The Suns finally played a different offense, but their defense was still so bad that there was nothing they could do. Especially on the opposite side there is Nash. Because of his size, Nash's defense is like a black hole. When the offense doesn't go well, the Knicks will force Nash. Because of this, Nate played well in this game. So far, 6 points have been scored. Nate made another breakthrough with a layup and a 2-point rebound. Back then, the Suns attacked. Nash is still blocking Fry. In the usual training, Nash does not only train with Chelsea, almost everyone is familiar with blocking tactics. Fry cut again and scored again. Now, it was D'Antoni's turn to be anxious. Supplementing Fry is not a wise choice. The best result is that Lin Dong can stop Nash from playing. However, Lin Dong had already done a good job of containing Nash from launching a quick attack. And without blocking, Nash is also very difficult to play. It's too hard to completely lock Nash up. The rest of the game basically continued to attack at this pace. The Knicks found a way to crack the offense. Nash was able to immediately find another new way to attack. Finally, by the end of the first quarter, the difference between the two teams was still 6 points. Knicks 34-28 Suns. When the players left the field, D'Antoni patted the players on the shoulder and praised the cheers. The players were also very happy. The team's offense got better and the defense worked, leading the score into the second quarter. This is indeed a happy thing. This section of the game just now, it's cool. The Suns couldn't stop me. Hill kept shooting 3-pointers, and he didn't dare to shoot until later, ha ha ha. It's still a great coach who can find a defensive strategy to deal with the bombardment attack at once. Lin Dong is also powerful. You don't see, Nash can't fight fast at all. Just as the players were discussing the matter of the game just now, Lin Dong kept a calm face. The first time he faced the passing master, he was a little uncomfortable. So he didn't think he was doing well enough. He was thinking about the game and how to respond to Nash's pass. Back on the field, Lin Dong put a towel over his head and lowered his head. A lot of images quickly crossed my mind. Nash passes the ball from cover. Nash throws his teammate with one arm. While not every pass translates into an assist, every pass he makes seems like an art. It drives the emotions of teammates and drives the heartbeat of opponents. Suddenly, Lin Dong remembered D'Antoni's defensive strategy. Then, he seemed to think of something. Basketball is a game of probabilities, and the final victory condition is to score higher than the opponent. But how to do it, that is to increase the probability of scoring on your side. Then reduce the opponent's probability of scoring. In this way, the probability of winning increases. So, it was impossible for him to completely block Nash's pass. But he can reduce Nash's passing route and let him pass the ball to teammates who are relatively weak in scoring. In this way, it is also reducing the probability of the opponent shooting and scoring. Of course, thinking about it is not the same thing as doing it. The second quarter continued, and Lin Dong was replaced for the break. But seeing that Nash was still on the field, Lin Dong came to the fighting spirit and immediately ran to the side of the coach. "Coach, let me play." D'Antoni glanced at him, not knowing what he was thinking. After thinking for a while, he said, "Okay. You replace Douglas." Then Linda ran onto the field. When Nash saw Lin Dong coming up again, he immediately shook his head helplessly. And jokingly said to Lin Dong, "Why did you come up again?" I want to defend you, I feel very challenged. Nash smiled bitterly, how could there still be someone to defend for fun? But this player, he likes. If he had the opportunity, he would like to be on a team with Lin Dong. There is no player who doesn't like to be teammates with people who are active defensively. At the same time, he had a headache because Lin Dong's defense was too difficult. Few players can give him so much defensive pressure, and Lin Dong is one of them. Such a tall person, and such a fast speed, a bit of a headache. The game resumed and Lin Dong was still on the field. The fans burst into cheers. The fans' eyes are bright, and the reason why the team can lead, Lin Dong is still the person who contributed the most. Without Lin Dong's personal defense of Nash, the Suns' offense simply could not be stopped.